Hello and welcome to my channel, or welcome back to it. My name is Gabriella. I'm a freelance photographer and model in the Metro Detroit and Los Angeles area. And before we get started, I just want to say this is a part 2 to a video series of how to retouch and color grade beauty photography. So if you're looking for the retouching portion, that is going to be in part 1. I will drop a link below and put the card up here. But welcome to part 2. If you're coming from part 1, thank you so much for being here. I hope you're excited to learn how I color grade this image. And we're just going to jump right into it, so that way hopefully this part of the video is a little bit shorter than the first part. The first thing we're going to do is going to make a black and white layer, and we're going to change the blend mode to luminosity. So this is going to actually give us that contrast that we took away in the first video in the camera raw setting. And we're going to drag down the reds a little bit just to bring a little bit more shadow back into the image, and I'm going to bring down the yellows a little bit too. The next thing we're going to do is actually make another black and white adjustment layer. What we're going to do this time is we're going to keep the blend mode on normal, and we're actually going to bring the opacity down a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean almost completely. I would keep the opacity between like 5 and 10%. Again, I'm really sorry. I don't know why OBS cut off the side of the screen, but just bring the opacity down. This is going to mute those colors a little bit and make it a little less vibrant, which is a little bit more of a professional look. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to make a luminosity mask. So we're going to go over to channels here and hold Command or Control and press RGB. This is going to select the lightest or the brightest parts of your image, and you're going to make another adjustment layer under levels. This helps us be able to add that contrast again that we removed when we were retouching. You want to bring that white slider, the one that you can't see, all the way from the right, and you want to bring it over to the middle a little bit more. It adds a little bit of a pop to the highlights, which just makes it look a little bit brighter and make it look a little bit more professional. On the same levels layer, I will take that center point and move it to the right a little bit just to create a little bit more contrast in the midtones and make them a little bit darker. You can see the difference when I turn it on and off. It is pretty crazy how much contrast just the levels will add to the image, that when you turn it off, it almost looks really flat. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to make a selective color adjustment layer. We're going to bring out some of the, or take out some of the magenta and take out some of the yellow from the skin tone. This is just going to neutralize it a little bit more and make it look a little bit cleaner. The next step is to make a color balance adjustment layer, and we're going to still take out some of the warmth of this image. Cleaner beauty portraits typically do have a cooler tone. For something like this, I might add in a little bit warmth later just because her hair is red. It's pretty intense, but for now we're just going to pull out some of that warmth and really neutralize the skin tone. We're going to do the same thing for the shadows and the highlights. We're going to just neutralize the skin tone a little bit more, make it a little bit cooler as to not make the skin tone look artificially tan or yellow. Next, we're going to make a curves adjustment layer. We're going to use the curves to add, again, a little bit more contrast to this image. Beauty portraits are really sharp. They have a lot of contrast a lot of the time. So we're just going to really make the shadows a little darker, the highlights a little brighter, and maybe bring up the midtones just a little bit. This really all depends on what you want your photo to do and on personal preference, so this is going to change from image to image. I just wanted to take a brief break here to let you guys know that on my website, gabriellastephaniec.com, you can actually go and order some of my original prints and stickers right now of some of my photos and original digital paintings. If you're interested in supporting me and supporting me continuing to be freelance and make YouTube videos, any order does help. They are fairly cheap, so I'd love to have you guys have some of my art, and let's get back to the video. Next, we'll add a Vibrance saturation adjustment layer, and we're going to bring up the vibrance a little bit. I actually typically would bring it down to keep it a little bit more neutral, keep it a little bit more soft, but since the makeup's a little bit dramatic in this photo, I think that some more poppy colors are warranted. You can see the before and after here. It's a subtle difference, but it does make a difference. I'm just looking over. I think the photo's looking really good. The colors are looking really neutral, but they're looking very realistic as well. But I do notice that there's some spots that are a little bit yellow or a little bit pink, and I want to even out the color of that skin tone a little bit. So we're going to create a new layer, and we're actually going to color pick from the skin tone that we want. And we're just going to paint in some of those areas that need a little help with their color. So like this area under her finger, I think needed to be a little bit more pink. You want to have your brush on a soft brush and no more than like 5 to 15% on your brush flow. Right here was a little bit yellow, so I'm going to paint that a little bit pink as well. Don't worry about it looking like you're literally painting on the image. We're going to fix that in just a minute with the blend mode, changing it to color. This is one of the best ways to fix some of those color discrepancies in your photos. You can see the difference in the before and after here. And I'm just going to go through and make some more of those types of adjustments. I'm actually going to use this color adjustment layer as well to make her hair a little bit more vibrant red. When I took out some of the saturation, we lost a little bit of color in the hair, so I'm just going to brighten that up a little bit. Of course, I'm going to do the same thing to the eyebrows so that way they match the hair. So let's just take a look at our absolute before and after. This is what the raw image looked like, and this is where we're at now. As you can see, it's much more sharp, it's much more vibrant, it's more interesting to look at. You could actually find this in a model's beauty portfolio, whereas the raw image you probably could not. I'm just playing with the Vibrance slider. Again, I just want to see if I like the image having a little bit more vibrancy or bringing it down a little bit to be a little bit more neutral, a little bit more professional, and I think I'm going to keep it down a little bit just so that way it's nice and clean and sleek for this model's portfolio. Here I am just going back into my selective color layer, and I'm going to adjust some of the greens and adjust the yellows because I want them to be a little bit more olive than like this warm green color. So I want to add a little bit of yellow to those yellows already. This is going to add a little bit of yellow to her skin, but I think that is okay because it's going to kind of mirror what the backdrop color is. In terms of lighting for this photo, I realize I haven't talked about it yet. I used two strobes. One lit the backdrop separately than the model, and I used a beauty dish on the photo for the model and then just a regular square softbox for the backdrop. Now I'm just creating a new layer and changing the blend mode to soft light. This is actually a really quick way to dodge and burn. If your brush setting colors are on black and white, you can actually use white to paint on highlights and use black to paint on shadows. It's a little bit quicker than making the curves layers if you just have some micro adjustments you want to make.
I'm the plane, you're the pilot. Didn't know that I could feel this much. Save the tears for another day. Save the tears for another day, for another day. Forget about the past. Show me what you got, 'cause right now it's all we have. I hold my breath, waiting for the air to return. I got chills all over my...
Alright, so as you can see, this is our before and this is our after again. It's looking really great, really clean, very professional. I'm going to make another selective color adjustment layer, and I want to fix the green or change the green of the backdrop and under her eyes a little bit. So I'm going to play around under the yellows in my selective color layer just to bring out that olive a little bit more and make it a little bit more in line with the red tones in her hair. That is basically all of the color grading steps that I take. I go in and make micro adjustments, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to go in depth onto all of those because those are going to be very photo specific and there's nothing different than I've been doing in the past. So I'm just doing some quick cleanups of the retouch that I still notice and the color grading. And making the lips a little bit more pink just so they stand out a little bit more. So here's the before and here's the after. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions that I didn't cover, feel free to drop them in a comment or slide into those Instagram DMs. I'll try to help you out. Thank you so much for watching.